and dedication they have given to the Valley. I believe it's 100 years or more. And they've just done so much for the community. And just thank you to every one of those members who were involved. And we really, truly appreciate your contribution to help make this Valley a better place. On Oktoberfest, on March 25th and 26th, there will be an Oktoberfest happening in the Valley here. You can find out more information on drumheller.ca as well as the Town of Drumheller Facebook page. This is going to be a great event. I know they put a lot of effort into it. They're calling it Oktoberfest, although it's happening in March. Just due to COVID last year, they weren't able to. And we were able to get some funding for it. So we want to make sure that it goes through. So thank you to everybody involved in making that happen. And finally, I would just like to talk a little bit about trees. The tree removal process in Centennial Park, Midland, and Newcastle will be starting in March to make room for the upcoming flood mitigation projects that are in place. The team is currently working on specifics and will provide more details once they become available. So please keep watching the Drumheller, the flood readiness website. Information there all the time is being added. Tons of frequently asked questions, lots of data for everybody to research. So please check that out because it will really help you understand the complexity of the program. And finally, Pat, can I call you to have opening remarks regarding Freedom to Read Week, please?
Thank you, Your Worship. The Town of Drumheller wishes to acknowledge Freedom to Read Week. Whereas Freedom to Read Week is an initiative to promote literacy, tolerance, knowledge, and a love of reading among Canadians. And whereas the right to pursue truth through free inquiry is essential to democratic decision-making. And whereas the freedom to read, print, on paper, or online is the essence of free inquiry. And whereas the freedom to read can never be taken for granted. Now, therefore, the Town of Drumheller endorses the objectives of Freedom to Read Week and recognizes, reaffirms, and defends the rights of the citizens of Drumheller individually to decide what they will or will not read, and calls on all residents to actively work to achieve these objectives, and in so doing, ensure continues to be a freedom to read zone in which the freedom to read and the right to seek information will not be violated.
Thank you so much, Pat, for sharing that. Okay, do we have any additions to the agenda, Council? Nope. So can I get a motion to adopt the agenda of February 22nd, please? Go ahead, Tony.
I'll move that Council adopt the agenda for February 22nd, 2022, regular Council meeting as presented.
Seconder, please. Tom? All in favor? Carried. All right, can I get a motion to accept the minutes from February 7th, 2020 regular Council meeting, please? Lisa?
I move that Council accept or approve the minutes for the February 7th, 2022 meeting as presented.
Seconder, please. Pat, comments? All in favor? Carried. All right, let's now move on to our delegation at 6.1 and the Drumheller Resiliency and Flood Office Financial Audit presented by Aidan McDonald, CPA of Ascend LLP. Welcome to Zoom Council Chambers, Aidan, and we will let you take over now. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I'm pleased to be here once again, and I believe this is for the final time as the town's regular auditors will be taking over this audit starting for the next period, but we did enjoy working on this for the few periods that we did during mainly the reign of the previous management. So for everyone who is listening in, this report does go up to June 30th of last year. So it is mainly relating to management done by the previous project management office headed by Darwin Durney and his professional corporation and consultants. It is since, or at near this end of the audit period, was taken over more so by the town, and there was a change in overall management. The results of this mainly reflect the transactions that had been approved and set in motion previously. So we'll move on to the report itself. Our auditor's report says we've audited the accompanying financial information and the explanatory information in accordance with it's not necessarily the same accounting framework as a municipality would use. It is a slightly special purpose framework that we've created for the purposes of this audit. We're mainly looking at it from a grant reporting perspective. So we're using the same generally accepted accounting principles that you'd expect to see on a grant application. So revenues and expenses based on an accrual method, based on when the work was done or when it was ordered, and generally more of a cash basis, close type of accounting than we would see for the town's financial statements as a whole. And that is drawn attention to in this section of the report, as well as the attached note, and noting that the basis of accounting here is meant to assist the stakeholders, so council, management of the program, residents of the town of Drumheller, in understanding and evaluating the overall performance of the flood mitigation office. So it is a clean audit report. I believe that was actually at the top here. It is prepared in accordance with the appropriate accounting standards for what we were looking for. And when we're satisfied with how it looks overall, we have no major issues that we feel the need to communicate and no major discrepancies to report on. So in concert with doing this slightly special purpose framework, we have it presented in a slightly different way as to how you might be used to seeing financial statements, where we have the period, so the 6-month period that we've audited for this report, as well as the overall project to date figures, which include the left column. Because this was audited originally, we did inception up until December of 2020, which was a little more than a year as the project got rolling and was delayed by COVID. And then this 6 months where the project is going full bore. So overall for the expenses, and we did just look at expenses for this period. We didn't look over the revenues because the town has now taken over a lot of the grant reporting procedures. There are some changes in the way that was being done. So we felt in conjunction with administration, we decided that looking at the expenditures was the most useful thing to be doing at this stage, in order to give everyone confidence over what has been spent on the program for budgeting perspectives and for understanding, is there going to be the money to complete the project in the way that it's supposed to be completed. So for this period, the 6-month period, we spent approximately $4.4 million for a total of $11.2 million spent within the context of this project so far. It's broken down into various functional areas, so expenditures for services, for goods and supplies, for general project expenses, and then for specific capital assets. Services are the more administrative side, so relating to communications and engagement, so how we're communicating and promoting the project to the community and stakeholders. General professional services, including things like the accounting and bookkeeping services and legal that isn't directly related to construction of an asset, and the general running of the project office. Everything is in line with what we'd expect for the activities done for these services for this period. You see communication spending being quite consistent, professional services being slightly lower, advertising and promotion again also being consistent with communications. Office and administration was significantly lower. There was quite a bit of upfront spending in the project for some of the office equipment and slightly longer lived expenditures. So in order to get the office up and running, relatively less as the project has gone on. And other general expenses were quite insignificant for this period. On the equipment side, we saw a little bit of general equipment purchased. Again, for the amount of time, very consistent with what we'd expect. Engineering is the bulk expense. Engineering and general planning and project management are the lifeblood of what's going on. Everything requires so many levels of planning and setup. with consultations with engineering drawings, getting everything ready. With that said, we reviewed all of the expenses and disbursements relating to items in these categories, and we were very satisfied everything was recorded in the way that we would expect, and we were very happy with. Geotechnical, mapping, and geomatics, and then most of these relate to contracts with specific companies, and again, continued on in the direction we were expecting. Legal fees here do relate to anything for legal that, again, isn't general, but is related to the project, but also isn't directly related to the acquisition of land. On the capital side, we do have land agent services being a major expenditure, and also 2 parcels of land for a total of $815,000 being acquired. So that is the financial picture. As part of our audit report, we do have disclosures about the accounting period and the basis of accounting and such, but due to the simplified nature, we don't have the detailed disclosures of, say, the municipal statements. With that being the report, I did also want to discuss some of the work that we did to look at the controls in place for the program. This was part of our audit. We had the financial audit. We also had management audits previously. There wasn't a ton of sense in evaluating the management for management that was no longer in place, but we did still look at their performance with respect to controls and how well stewardship over the money was managed. We did have some recommendations previously for improving the quality of controls within the organization, and for the most part, there were good improvements in the areas where they were needed, and we were satisfied that there was nothing particularly untoward going on. We were happy with the standard of control within the context of the time frame for when we delivered our audit report. With that said, we also had the opportunity to work well with the administration of the town of Drumheller office, Mauricio in particular, who have taken over some of those responsibilities. And I do want to highlight that we are very, very satisfied with the direction that the program is going and the further increased level of stewardship over it. And I believe that is all I have to say in particular, unless there are some specific questions about some of the line items on this report or some of the procedures that we performed.
Thanks so much there, Aidan. Let me check with council. I see, and let's see. Tom, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thanks for the report, Aidan. Very good, very comprehensive. Just concerning the project expenses, particularly the engineering and things like the geotechnical and mapping and geomatics. And maybe Dagan could answer this, or Mark, or somebody. Would we expect that some of these expenses would eventually start going down, considering that for the projects that we have planned, I don't know, I'm not an engineer, but I'm thinking that a lot of the engineering has now been done. A lot of the geotechnical has now been done. Is it safe to assume that some of these costs would be going down? And my second comment would be, when we actually start building some of the dikes, for example, where will that be in these project expenses? Will we be adding another line to that as a specific construction line, or is that in here somewhere?
I can speak to some of those questions, absolutely. With respect to the last one, for where would those expenses go, in general, they would end up down here in the capital section under engineering structures is particularly where I would expect to see, for example, a dike being placed. So for the actual construction of it, there is, of course, there's a lot of fluidity between how these accounts are structured, and this report is specifically designed with the way the flood office was keeping its accounts up until this time and how they were separating them out. But yes.
Aidan, can I interrupt you? Can I get you to just put your face, take your block off there so we can see it? There you go. Thank you. Go ahead.
There we go. Okay. Can you guys not see, you cannot see the report anymore then, I suppose. Would you
No,
like
but
to,
that's okay. I think well, we all got it in our package. So
okay. So yes. Did that answer that part of your question? for that part?
Yeah, no, that's fine. And so engineering structures, so the 200,000 that's been built on engineering structures, what is that?
Now that all relates to the previous year, and I believe, or is that the current year? Sorry, I've lost the report again. Now that I've done this.
Anyways, it doesn't matter. That's fine. As long as that's where the dikes will go in the future, that's fine. Yeah.
Yes, and there would be some things relating to project and construction for that would be what, or work that is directly contributing to that being included in that account. Yes. With respect to, can you repeat your first few questions again?
Under the project expenses, engineering and things like geotechnical, can we expect those expenses to go down? Have we done an awful lot of the engineering, or is there still an awful lot to do?
So I will defer that question to the current management. With that said, I would expect this particular line to go down as time goes on, and at very minimum be replaced by equivalent lines within the capital section.
Yeah, maybe I can speak to that a little bit. The engineering costs are still going to be continuing as we move to construction, as our engineering teams will be out in the field helping to watch the contractors as they do their work and make sure that things are constructed to the standards that we've set and that we need. That being said, as we wrap up the construction of a few different dikes, like the ones that we're going to get built this year, then we will have less engineering design work going on moving forward. So you are correct, that will in the coming years taper off, but some of the construction costs will still keep the engineering fees up for this year.
Crystal, go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry about that. My dog was barking and scared me, and I accidentally unmuted my button, so I apologize about that. Now I'm trying to gather my thoughts. My question was, just because I'm new to all this, the project to date, when was the actual start of it for that date?
I do not believe I know the exact date off the top of my head, but we have expenses starting from mid 2019.
Okay.
From when the flood office was formalized.
Okay.
With that said, there's almost nothing as far as total expenses relating to 2019. It mainly starts in early 2020 as things get really rolling.
Early 2020. Okay. And then I did have similar questions as to what Tom had asked in regards to about like the engineering expenses, obviously, and Dagan just clarified that would be going down as the projects are being designed and built. And then it's good to hear that there was no concern of how the counting was done. So good job on the Drumheller flood mitigation program to ensure that it followed all the procedures. So thank you.
Yes. Yeah. And I will add on to that is that we did review the controls in much more granular detail with council when we previously presented the December report, and there were some minor improvements after that, and I have no major concerns. Council had brought forward some particular concerns that looked into them to the extent possible, and rumors from the community and everything like that, and I was not able to find anything that I felt was particular and egregious. Of course, any system you'll be able to find a misplaced, a 6 becomes a 9 in the data, or a payment happens a little bit later, but I was generally quite satisfied, especially for this 6-month period.
Great, thank you very much.
Great.
Anybody else? Okay, Aiden, well, thanks so much. I'm just glad that you were very satisfied with the direction of the project and the management report that you did last time. There is nothing to find, so I'm glad that you dug and did what we asked you to do and made sure that we're moving this project forward on a good basis. So thank you for all your work and appreciate you being here. Take care of yourself.
Yes, thank you very much for having me.
All righty.
Right.
Okay, let's move on to 7.1, Point one, Dagan, request for decision on a DRFM land acquisition policy C0322, please.
Yeah, so this is a policy that we brought forward at the end of January as well, just for your information. And today we're looking for a request for decision on the policy. So again, the revised policy combines what we had previously and the purchasing procedure into a single document for clarity and transparency. And it removes reference to the Drumheller Land Corporation and the Chief Resiliency and Flood Mitigation Officer based on the new project management structure. So we did have a good look at the policy document the last time that we brought it forward. And at that time, we indicated we had to circulate it to our colleagues at the province. And they had a look as well. And they made a couple of suggested changes, which we have incorporated. Mostly naming convention and definitions were changed, as you can see here on the document, the list of minor edits that we made. So at this time, again, the budget that we had set out, the $20 million land grant, council had approved 17.66 million for purchase of lands and 2.34 for legal appraisal and land agent fees. And to date, approximately 4.7 million of land has been purchased with around 660,000 in administration costs. And so that shows the total expenditure as of the end of October there. And so we're just asking today that you would make a decision regarding the updated policy.
Thanks, Dagan. Could I get a motion, please? Sorry, these things. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, I move that the revised Drumheller Resiliency and Flood Mitigation Land Acquisition Policy C-03-22 be adopted as presented.
Seconder, please. Sorry, guys, I can't see with that full screen. Tony, go ahead. Seconder, Tony. Okay, open for comments. And could I please get you to open to full screen back for me, Dagan? Remove your report. Okay, thank you. All right, Tony, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I just want to thank Mark for all the work he did on this and Dagan's overview as well. I don't have any problems with the document. It's come together quite nicely. I do, however, want to repeat section 6 and 7 again for the benefit of the public. That lands acquired under this program are to be designated as environmental reserve. And secondly, that lands acquired are to be protected by the town for at least 40 years. Because there's some misinformation noted in that regard. So thanks again, guys, for the work on this.
Lisa, go ahead.
Sorry, just trying to find where it was at. I just wanted a little bit more clarification, I guess, in regards to 20.2, where the second appraised value is no more than 5% higher than the town appraised value. The average between the two shall be used. I'm just wondering, is there some compensation in there in regards to if the landowner chooses to move forward and getting the second appraisal at their own cost, if that's taken into consideration when you're mitigating that 5%?
Right now, under the funding that we have, there is no mechanism for payment of the landowner's appraisal. So they would have to undertake that at their own cost. And the idea is that we are required to pay fair market value. So this clause is just ensuring that we're paying that what would be considered a fair market value.
Okay, no, perfect. Thank you. Clarification.
Tom, go ahead.
I'll get the hang of this Zoom one of these years. Another 2 or 3 years and I'll have the hang of it. Yeah, no, I very much like this document. It is to the point. I think checks all the boxes. I like the emphasis on safety, that is obviously the number one consideration of the flood mitigation office, that we are trying to make this community and people and their residences safe. The one thing that I can't see, and I don't get the feeling for in this document is that the flood mitigation, the town, I don't know if this document says that we have gone through a tremendously long, involved process of looking at many, many different options, and that to actually have to buy property and buy somebody's residence is absolutely a last resort. It's a last option that we have explored every other possibility, kind of to the ends of the earth before we ever get into the situation where we have to take somebody's property, we have to take somebody's home. That I just don't get that from this document, and I'm wondering if we have some verbiage that we could put in there to kind of that effect, that this is our last resort, this is our last option, that we have no other choice. We've explored every other thing, and now I'm sorry, we have to actually acquire property and acquire somebody's home. But that I don't know.
Go ahead, Mark.
Through the chair, I would say that we have addressed it, because what we've adopted into this is the option to buy a portion of land versus this being just a full program. So that's how we sort of address that. We're sensitive to the public's needs, and that we don't always need to buy a property, the entire property, to be able to facilitate the building of the flood mitigation work. So that's how I would show that we're sensitive to that issue.
Crystal, go ahead.
Thank you. Can I just get some clarification under 9.4? Who is the approval authorities? So it reads, for the retention and development of natural areas, environmental reserves, or other uses as approved by approval authorities.
So in this case, the approval authority would be the provincial government who's giving us the grant. So in our agreement with them for spending the funds, it specifically states what uses we can have for the land.
Great, thank you.
Mark, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
What Dagan said.
Oh, okay. All right, Council. Any other questions on that? Okay, well, great questions. Can I get, Tom made the motion, Tony, all in favor of the motion? Carried. Thank you, guys. Okay, let's move on to 7.2, please, Greg and Reg.
Your Worship, I'll just start off, and Reg Johnson, Economic Development Officer, can carry on and explain the rest of this. This can be a little bit quizzical following what we are seeking to do here. So we are completely lawful and in compliance with the Municipal Government Act. Bylaw 13-20 was passed for the purposes of implementing a residential development incentive program. It states in section 5 that the bylaw and corresponding schedule will be reviewed by town council at the beginning of each council term. As such, administration is recommending this review. We are recommending first and possibly second reading, if council sees fit, of amending bylaw 0122 of bylaw 13.20. We are recommending second reading so council can discuss the amendments and accelerate passing of the changes if they are so in agreement. I'll let Reg Johnson then carry on with explaining these changes. Reg?
Thank you so much. Can you all see my screen? Great. Yeah, so the changes are we changed the word policy to program. It better expresses the intent of the actual bylaw. One of the larger changes was on the eligible dwelling definition. we've asked that the maximum listing sales price of a house be raised from $250,000, which is now in the bylaw, to $350,000. And the reason for this is no developer has used this incentive yet, and we think it's due to rising construction costs as well. So we looked at the building construction price index for residential, and it rose 30% from Q3 2020 to Q3 2021. So we're recommending that increase. And then a lot of the other changes are formatting, clarity, and alignment with the land use designations that are in the current land use bylaw. And then these changes have, from a financial impact, we could, if we apply the incentives, reduce the revenue that the town would see, but in the long term, engaging a residential developer would give us positive impact with respect to revenue and quality of life. From a strategic alignment perspective, this change aligns well with our strategic priority on creating a housing strategy. And last but not least, on the communication side of things, we have a brief ready, and we're putting together a program to help advertise this incentive program more. Are there any questions?
Thanks so much, Reg. Can I get a motion on the floor, please, Council? Go ahead, Lisa.
I give first reading to residential development incentive, amending bylaw 01.22 as presented.
Seconder, Tom. All in favor? Carried. Can I get a motion to go into second reading, please? Tom, go ahead.
I move second reading of bylaw 01.22.
Seconder, please. Tony? Comments, anyone? Tony?
Yes, Reg, just scrolling down to 2.6. The incentive applies to the municipal portion of the taxes only. Special levies, improvement levies, drum district requisitions, and school taxes are not exempt. Are they included or excluded?
Excluded. Good catch, sir.
Okay. And same with 2.4 is the same wording. And then if I could just go to 2.9, we still have the word policy in there. Should it not be just program?
It should be program. We should have a slash on top of policy in that situation.
Okay. Yeah. So also in the heading Schedule B and also 1.0 under Schedule B. That's all I have.
Go ahead, Pat.
Yeah, I just, I may need some background maybe from the previous council. I see this initial bylaw was passed in 2020. And with a number of 250,000, it appears that it was really aimed at affordable housing, and moving that, and obviously without anybody applying, it doesn't appear to be successful. So moving that goalpost to 350, does it still meet that initial goal of affordable single dwelling housing, or?
I can answer if any, or Lisa, Tom, do you want to? Tony? Tony, go ahead.
Part of the Economic Development Task Force, the bylaw was aimed at generating new development, both residential and commercial. Commercial was covered under a separate bylaw. So no, not affordable housing directly. It was just any housing within the community, and residential development to construct new or rent or used. Yeah.
Just 250 seemed like a a very affordable level, and now it no longer is. That's why I was questioning that.
Rightfully, yeah, 250 was picked at the time. I think since then, with costs escalating, 350 is probably more in line.
Okay. Now,
But
I
it
guess
says maximum, just to clarify, Pat, it says maximum. So, I mean, 250, it can go up to that. So it still allows for that.
well, with the initial target of 250, it appeared to be more of an affordable size level thing. And I guess the other question is how long do we continue with this if we see that the first intake over 2 years had no success? Do we leave this in place for another year or as a program?
Tony's going to answer that one again.
I can
He
comment
worked
on that
a
one
lot.
comment on that as well. Its design was to implement activity in Drumheller. It's unfortunate it didn't attract any. However, the incentive is still there for future. I just read recently here that Stettler introduced their first bylaw with regard to this. So everybody is looking for expansion of their communities, both residential and commercial. I think Stettler's, I just read a couple of weeks ago, so that's just moved through their council now. So yeah, I would suggest we would leave this in place.
Thank you.
Tom, go ahead.
Yeah, further along that line, yeah, it was kind of the idea of council to create housing that was a little bit more affordable. So I absolutely appreciate the fact that building costs have gone up. They've skyrocketed. You know, we're trying to build our new seniors addition onto Hillview, and the prices are just astronomical. So I can absolutely appreciate that. On the other hand, however, I don't think the ability for people to purchase houses has gone up. So even though the costs of those houses have gone up, if anything, the ability of people in these times that we've had the last couple of years has gone down. So I'm not sure if this is going to kind of fulfill the purpose of basically getting more people in houses. I'm a little bit leery of that 350,000.
Lisa?
So I guess I'm just looking for a little bit of clarification. I thought we were just doing first reading on this. I personally would like to hear from some developers or realtors in this community where they think this lies, or just to give a little bit more background so I can make a more informed decision. I absolutely agree with Councillor Kalafa. Like, was more for affordable housing. And I think I just want to know, like, is the intent to go all three tonight, or are we?
No,
Okay.
the intent was to go two so
First
that
reading?
at least Reg could go back with some information. If we just did first reading, has no idea what we're even thinking. So his intent now is to take what we have talked about and go back before we do third reading.
Perfect. That's all I needed for clarification. Thank you.
Okay. Crystal, go ahead.
Thank you. I also have concerns about providing low-income housing as well. Mine is in regards to specifically 2.9.2. The dwelling is not used as an income property. Now, what about the bylaw allowing secondary dwellings on a property? Would this not qualify for that?
Yeah, the intent of this bylaw is for new construction. So the secondary suite is not in the included in this.
What if it's a construction with a secondary suite?
We do apply. We do have a portion of the bylaw for multi-unit
Okay.
new construction, but not secondary suites. Sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Tony?
Yeah. Again, I just want to clarify, this is a developer's housing incentive. I don't believe that it would exclude affordable housing. It's just increasing the upper end of the sale price. So anything between 180,000 to 350,000 would qualify. That clarifies things. And then that developer's housing is passed down to a purchaser who really enjoys the tax incentive of the program, i.e. creating a longer term resident for the town of Drumheller. So we could lower the 180 to a lower number, but it's not meant to exclude the range of housing, right? So just to add that clarity, it was an overall incentive for a developer to build something.
Correct, Reg? That's the intent is
Yeah,
it's
well,
not to exclude anyone, it's just to raise the bar. So if we have a builder that wants to come in and build more expensive houses, they can. If we have a builder that wants to build less expensive, they can too. Is that not correct?
that's well put. Yeah, that's great clarification.
Okay. Crystal, you have your hand up still? Nope. Tony, you have your hand up still? Okay, so I want to go back to the secondary suites because there's a little community outside of Cochrane. I believe it's Ghost something or other. And they have an incredible neighborhood that does have like a secondary suite on the property. And then I just noticed it in Calgary the other day as well, in the deep southwest actually. And they're doing the same thing. So I think that's something that should be looked at, because if we can help, a family build a home, and then they can have a secondary suite attached, which allows them to help pay for their home. And then we also give homes or space for somebody else to live affordably. I think we can nail two things with one stone on this. So I would really love to see that added into this, because I think we could open ourselves a really good opportunity. And, we constantly hear that the whole rent program, and we don't have enough of it, and it's very expensive. But I think this way we can help a new homeowner as well as help somebody trying to get ahead in life. So I think it's a win-win. Anybody got any else feedback on that? Crystal, go ahead.
Yeah, I definitely would put my support behind this. I see it as a way of keeping possibly those retirees staying in our community. I think of my parents, this could be a possibility for them to stay in their community and be on our land. So not just personally, but like that's just an idea I have. And there's definitely communities, there's a whole community in Edmonton. That's the whole design of it, is secondary suites. So every property has the main house and then a secondary suite. So maybe it's something I can definitely do a little bit more research in and provide some more information in regards to that. So.
Anybody else? Yeah, another name for them in the States is called a little casita. So therefore, Reg, I think you've got a lot of information sent back to you. I would like this to come to council, not for third reading. I would like to come for a review of the changes, because I think this is a little bit more complex than just going into third reading. I think we need to have one more go at this one. So if you can do that, bring it just for committee of the whole or the next council meeting, just for a request for discussion on it. So all in favor of second reading, because we still got third reading to go. So second reading, perfect, pass. Now that gives you momentum there, Reg, to carry on that one. Okay. Nope. That was called with Lisa and Tom, and then second reading was Tom and Tony. Yes, I did. Sorry. Yep. Okay. So now we will go to 7.2.2. And Reg, this is yours again on this one, please.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council, for the feedback on the previous bylaw. I'm going to share my screen again. Hopefully you guys can see the screen again. So we're bringing forward bylaw 03.22 to repeal bylaw 1718 and 2218. So when bylaw 1919 was produced as a result of a change to the Municipal Government Act, bylaws 1718 and 2218 were amalgamated into 1919, and those two bylaws were supposed to be repealed. We brought forward the request for decision in 2020, where it said that we should repeal those two bylaws as backup, but this is just a matter of housekeeping. Unfortunately, those two bylaws were not actually repealed, so we're asking council, or suggesting council, to take a look at bylaw 03.22 and see if they would like to repeal 1718 and 2218 as bylaw 1919 now replaces it.
All right, council, I need a motion, please. Tony.
I move that council give first reading to non-residential incentive repeal bylaw 3.22 as presented.
Seconder, please, Tom. Okay, remember this is first reading, everyone. So just for the listening public, when we do first reading, it means we have to get it on the table. It doesn't mean that we're in favor, not in favor. It means we have to get it on the table for discussion. So all in favor? Okay, carried. So that was Tony and Tom. All right, now I need second reading, please, and then we'll discuss, and then we won't go into third reading on this one either. So can I get a motion to go in second reading, please? Tom.
Yeah, I move second reading of non-residential incentive repeal bylaw 303.22 as presented.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Lisa. All right, comments, council. Tony.
So this is just housekeeping work. We still have the non-residential incentive in place then, Reg?
Yep, that is exactly what happened. So 1919 is our non-residential incentive program, and so it applies to businesses who are constructing new or expanding their business.
Businesses, right. And did you review that one? Was there any changes that you thought would be in order on that one?
We did review that one, and just to ensure that all the pieces of these previous bylaws were covered within that bylaw, and yeah, the review was determined as 1919 is good.
Okay, and I understand Stetler's also just introduced this for the first time as well, so they may be our competitors to the north. That's it.
Anybody else? Go ahead, Tom.
I'm just wondering why we couldn't do third reading of this one.
Well, we'll vote in favor for second, and then you can do that thing that I always counted on Jay to do. So, any other comments on second reading? All in favor? Carried. Now, can I get a motion to no objection to third reading? That's it.
I move no objection to third reading.
Oh, just a minute. As long as I have quorum, I can do it. I believe.
So I move no objection to third reading of non-residential incentive repeal bylaw 03.22 as presented.
Seconder, please. Lisa. Comments? Tom? No? Anybody else? Okay, no, as long as I got quorum, I'm good on third readings. So unless there's something you know that I don't know. No? Okay. Okay. Well, if we have to come back to it, we will, but we will go objection. So we got Tom and Lisa, no objection. Now, all in favor of that, no objection. Carried. Now, can I get third reading, please? Somebody. Tom, seconder.
I move third reading
or
of
Crystal.
non-residential incentive repeal bylaw 03.22 as presented.
Thank you. Seconder, Crystal. All right, comments. Okay, so this is clearly just housekeeping, correct? Clearly housekeeping. Okay, all right. So Denise, if we have to housekeep again, we will housekeep again. All right, all in favor? Carried. I will be the first to admit I don't know everything of that MGA. It's too complex. Okay, let's move on to 7.3.1, and we need requests for direction on social media policy and procedure. I will let Erica take over, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. So last year we developed a fairly comprehensive social media policy and procedure for both the employee, or a very comprehensive one, and then a short formed employee one as well. In that, we wanted to give it 1 year to really kind of get into the rhythm of having a very comprehensive policy. So we were to bring it back to council in February of 2022. There have been very small revisions to this policy, the most notable being in the schedules, just updating the communications brief. So we're just seeking to get approval for this policy and procedure as presented, and then not revisit it again for a few years, just to, you know, really address the fact that technology and social media does continue to change, but we have confidence in this policy that the 2-year shelf life should give good justice here.
Questions, anyone? No? Oh, go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, just wondering, Erica, under the definitions of social media, so internet-based websites and applications that enable the creation and sharing of content or to participate in social networking, does that cover like Zoom meetings? Or is that not considered social media?
It's not intended to cover social media, in our opinion, doesn't intend to cover things like Zoom, because they're more meeting-based software. But if that's something you'd like us to explore, Tom, we certainly can do that.
Well, I'm just looking at it, I guess, as, you know, this is communication. So this is specific to kind of that, what the general conception of social media is. But do we also have things for, like, if we are having Zoom meetings, is there any rules and regulations as to what staff or council or, you know, people should be, you know, following? Maybe it's a different policy. Maybe it's something we should explore.
So I do believe that may fall under the code of conduct, but I'll follow up with you, Tom, for sure. Thank you.
Lisa, go ahead.
I think just a point of order, we need a motion on the floor before we discuss.
Whoops.
No, this is just request for direction.
So it says motion on there on the agenda.
I'm not on my agenda.
Page 38 of 75. Yeah,
Correct.
there's a motion there.
Okay, so yeah, on that it does, but that was at February 14th. No worries. Okay, no problem. Well then, good job, Lisa. So can I get a motion on the floor, please? Lisa?
I move that council approve the social media policy and procedure schedule A and B C-04-22 as presented, and will review this policy in February 2024.
Excellent. Seconder, please. Crystal. All right, any more comments? Now we can. We just did things a little bit backwards. Good catch, Lisa. No other comments. Okay, well, that's very, very complex. Well done. You guys are using it well. I'm impressed with the amount of communication that is going out. That was one of the big priorities of past council, and thank you to Erica and the rest of administration for getting this put together, because it's, you know, we'll never get enough communication out there for everyone. As hard as you guys go, but you know what, I'm so proud of the work you've done, so way to go. So, all in favor? Carried. Okay, we shall move on to 7.4.1, please, and Mr. Dave Brett, you're on the table.
So I won't be sharing anything screen-wise here. This is a pretty straightforward housekeeping item. In the capital budget for this year, there was a line item for the Michichi Creek Sanitary crossing, as that work needs to be done by the town in conjunction of timing with the flood project because of the berms on the Michichi Creek dike. We have an opportunity to apply for the Alberta Municipal Water and Wastewater Partnership grant funding, as they've extended the due date for that. We are now actually able to apply for it. As part of the application process, we need a motion from council supporting the project and indicating that there's funding available for it. So that is basically what I'm looking for tonight, is that motion from council that you guys are okay with me asking for money from another section of the government to help pay for this work. So that's pretty much what it comes down to. So that's all I'm looking for tonight.
Well, that's a good motion, Dave. Can I get someone to make that motion, please? Lisa, go ahead.
I move that council approve that the town of Drumheller applies for a grant under the Alberta Municipal Wastewater Partnership program for the engineering and construction cost to replace the Michichi sanitary line for the municipal portion of 62.5%, or $533,125.
Seconder, Crystal. I got your hand up. Okay, good. Crystal, you got a comment? Go ahead.
Thank you, Dave, for compiling this. Just to clarify, this sanitary line, it's coming to its end of a life anyway, and this will have to be done at some point. Is that correct?
The work needs to be done because the way the line was originally installed, it was installed not as a siphon buried below the creek, but as a encased pipe through the creek. So with the creek being realigned and with work being done on the berms there, the armored section of the sanitary pipe will no longer correctly align with where the creek is. Also, the design that was done for this no longer meets Alberta environment requirements. So any work we do on it, we would have to change the design anyhow. So as such, this work, if we don't do this work, we disrupt the flood project and seriously cause issues to Dagan and Mark on the flood project in this area. The more straightforward and effective way of dealing with this is to convert the pipe to a siphon within the proper alignment section of the creek.
Great, thank you, Dave. And for the public, you can see actually a picture that Dave has provided showing how it actually does look like it could obstruct the flow of the Michichi Creek anyway.
It does, if debris is caught below the pipe, it disrupts the flow in the creek. So as I said, Alberta Environment would not approve this in current times. So it's just a much more effective solution. And as I said, it needs to be done with the flood work going on in the area. So we pretty much have to do it.
Thank you.
Tom, go ahead.
So my first question is, explain Siphon.
Siphon is just the terminology for piping where you use differential pressures at the ends of the pipes to actually convey the water under a obstacle. Basically, you have the invert of the pipe at the upstream side higher than the invert of the pipe at the downstream side of the crossing, so that you don't have to do any pumping. It just flows naturally by gravity across the gap. So it basically will be that the pipe will come along and then go under the creek and then come back up the other side.
I knew I shouldn't have asked. Second question would be, so I'm not quite clear on this motion. We are making a motion to allocate the money, understand that, but we're making a motion to allocate the money on the assumption that we're getting the provincial money. And what is the likelihood of getting that provincial money, even though we don't have it yet?
So the capital fund, the capital budget already approved the full funding. What the grant application requirement asks for is a motion from council supporting the application, indicating the council will ensure that the capital budget includes the funding for the portion that the municipality would have to pay on if we get the funding.
If we don't get the funding, then we will go ahead with this project anyways and pick up the entire cost?
That the capital budget that was approved did not account for the grant application at all. So the capital budget already approves the full expense because we need to do the work in conjunction with the flood project.
That's what I thought. Thanks.
Yeah.
Anyone else? So here all along, Dave, I thought it was you that made our meeting so long. Maybe it's Daryl.
Oh no, sometimes I contribute to them quite a bit as well. So, but this is a nice straightforward one. So
go ahead, Lisa.
I just got a quick question on the siphoning part. Tom, you started it. So that being said, when you're talking about gravity fed underneath Michichi Creek, is there at any point in time where we'll need like a booster pump or anything to help the flow of water underneath that?
I would say at this point in time, likely not, but it would be dependent upon grades and flow volumes that occur through there. But at the moment, a siphon should be effective for it. We may at times need to do some additional pumping, but we should be able to design this at the moment to just be a siphoned system.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? Okay. So just to reiterate, Dave, we have put this in the budget because we know it has to be done. All we're trying to do is give you the tools from a political side to say we as a council agree with it, correct?
Correct. Basically, I need this. This is a specific requirement of the grant application that I need a motion from council stating this.
Okay. Well, council, all in favor? Carried. You have your motion, Dave.
Thank you very much.
Okay, is there anything else before we adjourn? We got any other questions, council, of anybody? Well, Tony, you get to your meal early tonight. Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn, please? Lisa, Crystal, all in favor? Carried. Thank you to listening public. We're done for today as a record 5:34. So we are actually going to see the sunlight today. So thank you all. We are, there will be no meeting next week. So we'll be back on March 7th. So if everybody have a great couple of weeks and we will continue to move forward on all the projects on the go. Take care of yourself and stay safe out there. Thank you.